My sister stole my millionaire fiance. 6 years later, at Mom's funeral, she froze, seeing my husband. At 38, I stood at my mother's funeral, dreading the moment my sister would walk in. 6 years had passed since she stole my millionaire fiance. But today, she had no idea who I had married. Growing up, my younger sister, Juniper, always wanted what I had. If I got the lead in the school play, she auditioned the next day. If I had a friend, she suddenly wanted to be besties. But I never imagined she'd take the man I planned to marry. I met Jackson at a charity gala. He was smart, self-made, and every girl's dream. 18 months later, we proposed on a yacht with a 5-carat diamond ring. My parents were thrilled. I was over the moon. And Juniper, she was my maid of honor. She helped plan the wedding, came to cake tastings, complimented Jackson constantly. I thought she was just being her charming self until everything started to change. Jackson grew distant, worked late, criticized me. Then I found one of Juniper's earrings in his car. She claimed she'd lost it while he gave her a ride to the florist, but something fell off. And then 3 weeks before the wedding, he said, maybe we should postpone. That same week, I brought him lunch at his office unannounced. His secretary tried to stop me, but I walked in anyway, and there they were. Jackson and Juniper locked in a passionate kiss. My sister in my wedding dress fitting slot in his arms. Their faces froze when they saw me. I didn't. I canceled the wedding, moved to Chicago, started over, and eventually I met someone. Callum, kind, brilliant, patient, not flashy, but real. He never tried to change me, never played games. 1 year. After we met, he proposed with a simple emerald ring, and I said yes. Not because I needed to win, but because I was finally free. Then came Mom's funeral. Juniper walked in with Jackson, smiling, wearing my old engagement ring. I stayed calm until she tried to whan at me. Said, "Who are you?" Still single at 38. I smiled. "Oh, have you met my husband?" Then Callum walked in, tall, elegant, confident. Juniper's smile vanished. And Jackson, he turned white as a ghost. "Callum Foster?" he stammered. Turns out Callum once beat Jackson in a massive tech deal. Callum's startup got acquired. Jackson's failed. Suddenly, they looked small. They stole my past. But when I said, "Meet my husband," they saw everything they'd saw. Everything they'd never be. At 38, I stood at my mother's funeral, staring at the church doors, bracing myself. It had been 6 years since my younger sister Juniper stole my millionaire fiance. 6 years since I swore I'd never give her another chance to hurt me. But today, she had no idea who I had married. Growing up, Juniper wanted everything I had. If I got the lead in a school play, she auditioned the next day. If I had a new best friend, she swooped in. It was annoying, but harmless. Until Jackson. I met Jackson at a charity gala. He was every girl's dream. Smart, charming, self-made, and devastatingly handsome. 18 months later, he proposed on a yacht with a 5-carat diamond ring. My parents adored him. I adored him, and Juniper. She was thrilled. She was my maid of honor. She helped plan the wedding, came to cake tastings, complimented Jackson constantly. I thought she was just being her flirty, charming self. But then, Jackson changed. He grew distant, worked late, nitpicked everything I did. One day, I found one of Juniper's earrings in his car. She laughed it off, saying she'd lost it when he gave her a ride to the florist. My gut screamed otherwise. 3 weeks before the wedding, Jackson said, "Maybe we should postpone." I knew something was wrong. I brought him lunch at his office, unannounced. His secretary looked panicked, but I walked past her hand. There they were. Jackson. Juniper, locked in a passionate kissed on my sister, in my wedding dress fitting slot, wrapped in his arms. They froze. I didn't. I canceled the wedding on the spot, packed my bags, moved to Chicago. I cut them both out of my life. It broke me, but I built myself back. Years later, I met Callum. He wasn't flashy like Jackson, but he was everything Jackson wasn't: kind, patient, brilliant, steady. He loved me without games or conditions. 1 year in, he proposed with a simple emerald ring. I said yes. For once, I wasn't trying to win. I was just happy. Then Mom died. Juniper arrived at the funeral with Jackson, still wearing my old engagement ring like a trophy. I kept my composure, even when she smirked and whispered, "Still single at 38, huh?" I smiled back. Oh, I smiled back. Have you met my husband? Right on cue. Callum walked in, tall, confident, effortlessly elegant in his black suit. He kissed my cheek and slipped his arm around my waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. Juniper's smirk vanished. Jackson went pale, said Callum Foster. Jackson stuttered. I tilted my head. You know each other? Oh, they knew each other. Turns out Callum was the tech genius who'd beaten Jackson in a massive acquisition deal years ago. Callum's startup got acquired for millions while Jackson's venture collapsed. He was the man Jackson never measured up to, professionally or personally. In that moment, Juniper realized she hadn't just stolen my past. She'd chained herself to my mistake. I didn't need revenge. Just standing there, with Callum's hand resting steady on mine, watching their faces crumble, it was enough. They could keep each other. I had everything they'd never be. Story 2. I was at my promotion party, standing proud when my wife raised her glass and toasted to my husband, the biggest loser I've ever known. The laughter was deafening. What she didn't know was that I had a plan to turn her betrayal into the most brutal revenge she could ever imagine. That's when everything changed. Chapter 1. The toast that shattered everything. The room was glowing with warm light and clinking glasses. I stood at the center of the elegant rooftop bar, surrounded by colleagues, friends, and my so-called loving wife, Amber. It was my night. After 16 years of relentless work, a few mental breakdowns, and dozens of sacrifices, I had finally made partner at my firm. Let's toast, someone called. I smiled as I lifted my champagne flute, about to thank everyone when Amber stepped forward in her shimmering red dress. She raised her glass high, her smile wide and predatory. To my husband, she said sweetly, locking eyes with me. People hushed, expecting something romantic. The biggest loser I've ever known. Laughter erupted, some shocked, some uncomfortable. But many laughed anyway because she was beautiful and because people always laugh when they're confused. My smile didn't break. Not yet, Amber continued, voice dripping with venom. I mean, really, he works himself to the bone. Thinks he's some big shot now. But if only you all knew what a joke he really is behind closed doors. Cheers! Another round of laughter. This one louder. My ears rang, my throat dried, and something inside me, something that had been quiet for years, snapped. But I didn't yell. I didn't run. I smiled because I already knew. I knew about the affair, the secret apartment she paid for with my money. I knew about the business trips with her personal trainer, Caleb, the one she thought I'd never suspect. She thought she'd humiliate me in front of everyone. She thought that was the peak of her power. This was just the beginning. She had no idea what I had planned. Everything from here forward would be strategic. Ruthless, cold, and when I was done, Amber wouldn't just regret that toast. She'd wish she'd never met me. Chapter 2. The calm before the storm. The party went on like nothing had happened. People laughed. Glasses clinketed. My boss gave a speech. Amber winked at me from across the room like her little public humiliation was some inside joke between us. I played along. I smiled, shook hands, posed for photos, and accepted congratulations from people who probably pied me now. I didn't care because while everyone else was sipping champagne, I was already 10 steps ahead. By the time the cake was cut, I had already made 2 quiet calls. One to my lawyer, the other to a private investigator named Reed Walker, a man who specialized in unraveling secrets and had a particular talent for surveillance without detection. Amber had no clue that I'd been collecting evidence for weeks. Why? Because I'd suspected something wasn't right for a long time. The coldness, the missing money, the way she'd flinch when I touched her, but laugh just a little too loud when her phone lit up with Caleb flexed bicep. At first, I doubted myself. Thought I was paranoid. But then one night when she was in the shower, I checked her purse. There was a hotel room key. I memorized the number and the location. 2 days later, Reed sent me photos. Amber in lingerie on the balcony, wrapped around a man who was not me. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just started planning. Asset protection, documentation, legal traps. I changed the beneficiary on my life insurance. I opened new accounts, quietly funneled my savings out of our joint account and into my own trust. Then came the recordings. Reed installed tiny mics around the apartment. It wasn't illegal. It was my home after all. And within 48 hours, I had audio of Amber telling Caleb, "Don't worry, he's pathetic. He'll never leave me. He thinks I'm his prize." That sentence sealed her fate. That night after the party, Amber curled up beside me in bed, still tipsy. She laughed again and said, "Come on, babe. It was just a joke. Lighten up." I didn't respond. I just kissed her forehead, turned off the light, and lay in silence, staring at the ceiling because the next phase was already underway, and she had no idea that by this time next week, her entire world would burn. Chapter 3. Initiation of the end. Amber believed she'd won. That was her biggest mistake. A few days after the party, I filed quietly divorce papers that detailed infidelity, emotional abuse, and public defamation. My lawyer had compiled everything. The photos, recordings, financial irregularities. Even a witness statement from Reed. Amber's betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. She drained parts of our shared finances into secret accounts, taken out credit cards in both our names, and gambled on the idea that I'd never leave her. I didn't just plan to leave her. I planned to break the illusion of who she was to everyone else. Step 1. The work fallout. Amber worked as an HR executive at a mid-sized tech company. The same company where Caleb, her affair partner, also worked. In fact, he was her subordinate. I knew her company had a zero-tolerance policy for interoffice relationships without disclosure, so I made an anonymous tip. Not emotional, not scandalous, just the facts with a tidy email packet containing dates, text messages, and photos of them kissing in company attire at a hotel. A week later, both were called into HR. Amber was fired on the spot for abusing her position of power. Caleb, her knight in shining armor, demoted pending further investigation. She came home fuming, slamming doors, screaming about office politics and how someone must have had it out for her. I acted concerned, sympathetic, even hugged her because I wanted her to feel safe right before the floor collapsed. Step 2. The social implosion. I sent a care package to her mother. Amber was always the golden daughter in her family. Successful, charismatic, the one who landed the perfect husband. So, I made sure they saw the truth. The same flash drive I'd given my lawyer went to her parents, her siblings, even her childhood best friend. I didn't narrate or accuse. I just included one line. I thought you should know who you're defending. Amber's phone began blowing up with messages she couldn't explain. One by one, her relationships fractured when her mom showed up at our door with tear-streaked cheeks and screamed, "What have you done? You ruined everything." I didn't step in. I just watched. Because this wasn't revenge for one bad night. It was a reckoning for years of hidden contempt. Step 3. The apartment. While Amber spiraled, I made my quiet exit. The lease in my name, the furniture mine. Her name not on a single official document. One night, while she was at her sister's, trying to vent, I called a moving crew, changed the locks, and cleared out everything I owned. When she returned the next day, all that remained was a folding chair, an empty wine glass, and a white envelope taped to the fridge. Inside, a copy of the filed divorce papers, a zeroed-out joint bank statement, and a handwritten note. "You toasted." To my failure in front of everyone I know. Now, drink to your own. Happy endings are for honest people. Chapter 4. The final scene. Amber didn't take her downfall gracefully. She began calling me non-stop. Messages poured in. "We need to talk." I didn't mean it like that. "Why are you doing this to me? You're being cruel, John." The irony was suffocating. She had publicly humiliated me, stolen from me, cheated on me, and now I was cruel for refusing to carry her mess. But still, I wasn't finished. I needed her to feel what it was like to be utterly powerless. The fundraiser. A few weeks after our separation, my firm held its annual charity gala, big event. Black tie, press sponsors, A-list clients, and guess who I brought as my date? Samantha. Not the rebound type, not some revenge fling. Samantha was the marketing director from another firm we frequently partnered with. Smart, gorgeous, sharp-witted, and unlike Amber, she respected people, especially me. As Samantha and I walked into the ballroom, the flashes of cameras lit up like fireworks. I wore the tailored suit Amber once said looked too expensive for a plumber's son. It matched the man I'd become. Samantha leaned in and whispered, "That woman near the bar, she's been staring at us for 5 minutes." I turned and saw her. Amber. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her once perfect hair was tangled. Her dress, cheap knockoff, and the man beside her, Caleb, sporting a crumpled blazer and an expression of defeat. She looked at me. I raised my glass. "Cheers, Amber." She stormed toward me, fury in her eyes. "You think this is funny?" she hissed. I didn't flinch. "Number, I think it's justice. You ruined my life." "No," I said calmly. "You ruined mine." I just stopped. "Cleaning up your mess." She screamed something incoherent and threw her glass, but Samantha had already moved me aside. Amber's wine hit a security guard behind me. They escorted her and Caleb out of the ballroom while everyone stared. And that was it. Amber's final moment, not as the charismatic, successful wife, but as a cautionary tale. A woman consumed by arrogance, exposed by her own cruelty. Chapter 5. Closure. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. I kept everything: the apartment, the savings, the social connections. Amber, last I heard, she was living with her sister, working retail, and blaming toxic men for her downfall. Caleb had left her soon after the gala, couldn't handle the mess. Samantha and I kept seeing each other slowly, naturally. She never treated me like a prop or a punchline. But more importantly, I had peace. Amber once said I was the biggest loser she ever knew. Now she couldn't even look in a mirror without being reminded of the man who walked away and left her with nothing but her own reflection. Final line: sometimes the best revenge is letting them live in the world they created without you in it. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you would have done in the comments below. Like the story, share it with someone who needs this energy. And subscribe to Revenge Exposed for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.